The following video will explain how you can migrate your existing Defguard instance from version 1 to the latest version 2. Please note that the environment presented in this video is just a quick example and does not reflect our recommended production setup. Our recommended approach assumes minimized exposure of certain components, especially the core component, should be deployed within a private network segment. For a complete overview of production requirements, please refer to the architecture and hardware, OS, network, and firewall recommendation articles in our documentation. Additionally, please note that one of Defguard's components has been renamed. The proxy component is now called Edge. Both terms may be used interchangeably in the video. Here is how to upgrade your Defguard instance from version 1 to version 2. I have a Defguard instance running here. It's in the latest stable version. At the moment it is 1.6.5. And I have a single location configured called Office. And the gateway VPN IP address for this location is 10.10.10.1. I also have a single user, my administrator, and the user has a single device configured. I also have the Defguard desktop client configured for this location, and I can connect to the VPN. And to prove that the VPN connection is working, I can ping the gateway VPN IP address to show you that the VPN connection is live. The instance is deployed in AWS using 3 separate EC2 instances. It consists of standard Defguard components, which is core, gateway, and edge. And I also have security groups configured so that only the required ports are opened for security reasons. I have 3 terminal windows open here, each for the EC2 instance. The first one is the instance when Defguard core is running, the second one is the instance where Defguard gateway is running, and the third one is the one running Defguard proxy. Let's now upgrade Defguard core to version 2. All the components were deployed using Docker Compose, and I have a Docker Compose configuration file here, and I'll just edit the configuration file. The only thing I need to do is to change the Docker image version. We have just released the beta version of 2.0, so our recommendation at the moment is to use this image version. In my case, I will use the experimental version, which is dev. And let's just save the file. I'll pull the image and start the new version. Let's also display the logs. And as you can see, Defguard detected that it was upgraded from a previous version, and it started the migration server. So right now, let's go to the UI of Defguard core. And Defguard started the migration process. It informs me that the core was already upgraded, and the process will consist of adopting the edge component and also migrating the locations and gateways. Let's start the process. First, I need to confirm these are correct. Then Defguard suggests to create a custom certificate authority. Previously, this had to be done manually and configured also manually. In the latest version, we have automated this functionality, so we don't need to worry about the configuration at all. This functionality makes sure that the communication between Defguard components is secure by issuing certificates using a custom certificate authority. I just need to specify the certificate authority email, and I can continue with the process. Defguard generated the certificate. I can download it here, and I can continue. Next, Defguard begins the process of adopting the edge component. The edge component was formerly named proxy. We renamed it to edge. And Defguard shows different examples on how you can run your edge component. I started my edge component using Docker Compose, and I will use this example. Let's now edit the Docker Compose file and upgrade the edge component. I will also use dev image version here, but I suggest using the beta version or 2.0 stable. I will also remove the environment variables as they are not necessary in the new version. But what I need to do is to specify a volume for the certificates issued for the edge component by the core component. Okay, I will just pull the latest version of the image and start it. Okay, I started the edge component, so let's continue with the process. Based on the previous configuration, Defguard detected that my proxy component was deployed on this instance, so it pre-filled the form for me. I just should name the edge component. And I can continue with adoption of the edge component. Adoption is the process of issuing a certificate for the proxy component or the edge component to make sure that the communication between the edge component and the core component is secure. Let's continue. Next, we move to the internal URL settings. Here you can edit the internal URL of Defguard core. I will leave it as is. I also have additional options to configure SSL. So I can generate a certificate based on the Defguard internal certificate authority. I can upload my own certificate, or I can skip the SSL configuration. I already have the SSL configured using the Nginx proxy manager, so I will just skip SSL setup. Now Defguard informs me that I should make sure that my reverse proxy is pointing to the right port of Defguard core. Next, external URL settings. So the URL of the edge component. I can change the URL here. I will leave it unchanged. And I also have a bunch of options for configuring SSL. Same as before, I can skip the SSL configuration. I can also generate the certificates based on the internal certificate authority. I can upload my own certificates. And additionally, what Defguard offers in the latest version is automatically obtaining the certificate using Let's Encrypt. Same as before, I also have an Nginx proxy manager configured for the edge component, so I will skip this configuration. Same as before, Defguard suggests checking the configuration of your reverse proxy if it's pointing to the right port, and I can continue. The initial system configuration is complete, but what is left is migrating the locations that I have configured previously. So Defguard informs me that it detected one VPN location that was configured, and it should be upgraded. For security and usability reasons, we have changed the communication between the gateway component and the core component. Previously, the gateway component connected to the core component. In the latest version, this communication is reversed. So right now, Defguard core communicates with the gateway. For that reason, you need to make sure that your firewall rules are updated. And Defguard informs me that we should allow connections from core to the gateway on the right port. And we should also block connections from gateways to the core. Let's make that change now. So I'll go to my AWS console, and I will first change the security rules of the EC2 instance that is running the Defguard core component. I'll go to Instances, Security, edit my security group. And here you can see that we allow inbound communication to port 555, which is the gRPC port of core. And we should remove that. And I'll save the rules. Now I will change the rules of the gateway EC2 instance. And what I need to do is to allow gRPC communication from core to gateway. So the port that gateway is using for gRPC is 566. And I'll save the rule. Okay, here I can confirm that I changed my gateway's firewall rules and network setup. Let's continue. Defguard now started the process of migrating all the VPN locations that you have configured before. In my case, that will be just a single location named Office. Let's start the migration. First, Defguard shows me the examples on how I can deploy my gateway component in the latest version. My gateway was also deployed using Docker Compose, and I will edit the configuration now. I will change the image tag. I will remove the environment variables as they are no longer necessary. But same as with the edge component, I need to configure the volume for persisting the certificates issued by the core component. Okay, let's save it. I will now stop the current gateway component, pull the latest version of the image, and start the new version of the gateway. Okay, I can confirm that I have deployed the gateway, and we can continue with the process. I'll need to give the name for my gateway and also the IP address of the server that is running the gateway. And same as with the edge component, Defguard will now try to adopt the gateway component. Yes, and it is adopted, and also in the logs you can see that the gateway setup was successful. Let's continue. The component was configured successfully, and we can finish. The migration process is finished, and we can verify it by going to locations. And as you can see, the location Office was migrated, and the gateway was also connected to this location. We can also go to the edge component and see that the edge component was also connected. We can also go to users. There's the administrator, and also there's the device of the administrator that was configured previously. The migration is fully transparent for your end users, so we should now be able to connect to the VPN, same as before, using the same instance in the desktop client. So let's now try to connect again. And let's try to ping the VPN gateway IP. And as you can see, it's also working. And this is how you migrate your Defguard instance from version 1 to version 2.